Hallo, mein Name ist Britta. Willkommen auf magicGerman. Heute habe ich Amy, eine Kollegin von mir, eingeladen, sich mit uns zu unterhalten. Hello Amy, nice to meet you and thanks for taking the time today to meet us.
Hello, Britta. You're very welcome. It's my pleasure to be here.
Great. Shall we start into the questions?
Sounds good.
Yeah. So further start, as nobody from my channel knows you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, sure. Hello, I'm Amy. I'm an online 101 mentoring Chinese teacher, and I'm also a language learner myself. I actually got into tutoring by accident in 2013, and I have been tutoring since then. I love tutoring because I get to meet people from all over the world, and it's really fascinating to be able to help them with their mentoring journey, and I get to learn more about them. So I love being a tutor.
Yeah. And which languages are you learning?
I am learning Spanish at the moment.
Just like me. At
You
least
are
I'm
really?
trying. Yeah.
That's cool. Awesome.
Great. So, do you think, as you teach Mandarin and English and learn Spanish, do you think there is a different approach to different languages when you are learning?
Mm, I would say so. I think the main difference is how you learn and also how you like to approach a language.
Yeah, so it's actually what I think too. It's not the language which is makes a difference. It's the person who's learning.
Yes, definitely. I definitely agree.
Yeah. So, what do you think are the differences? What different kinds of learner have you encountered?
Awesome question. So I think the the main kind of people that I encounter or main kind of learners that I encounter, they tend to focus on speaking. So, and that's also what I like because I love talking with people. It's really cool to ask them like their day and then also just their life experience in general because I have met people from all over the world and also all different ages, as young as like let me see, I think the youngest one is like 6 years old or maybe even five. And then the oldest one's like 60 something. So it's like I meet people from all different ages.
Yeah.
So and we tend to focus on conversation. That's the part that I like the most. And that's also what we do in class. We do a lot of speaking and listening. Listening as a I'll ask them questions because they often bring out really interesting topics. So with those kind of learners, I think one-on-one sessions are the best because you really get to use the language. You don't just study from the book, but you get to use the language. But I also have students who are really motivated and they are self-learners. For those students, they will study on their own using a book, an app, a website, whatever they like. And then in our class, we will practice what they learned in the book. I will ask them for the keywords, or maybe sometimes if we have the same book, I just look at the book and then I'll prepare materials beforehand and then I'll ask questions using those keywords.
Mhm.
So definitely depends on your learning style.
Yeah. What I think from my learning experience is
Mhm.
actually that the main difference are those people who want to study by themselves and
Mhm.
need a teacher as a guide or
Ah,
as a tutor, and
mhm.
those who really want to be teach step by step.
Ah.
And in the extreme, I sometimes feel like they want me to open their head and just put the knowledge in. Did you have similar experiences?
Yes, I think the first time you're talking about are the self-studiers or
Yeah,
self-studies students who self-study, and those type of students, they usually have uh I guess they are very motivated and also very disciplined. And
yeah,
then the other type I actually teach more of the second type, I think, because that's why I also like they prefer to have a guideline, a teacher who's there to guide them how to do things, one step at a time. And those learners, they are usually very consistent, and that's why you're going to see progress. They also have their own motivation, but they prefer to have a guide, and that's what I do. I try to make my materials more interesting so that they will enjoy the learning process. I think they enjoy the journey, and then the other one's more like aiming for a target.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I had a different experience, but also
Oh.
I prefer the first group, which are self-learner and very motivated, very often very organized,
Mhm.
and which are only wanting me not only to practice the language, but to
Mhm.
fill in the gaps they can't
Yes.
learn for themselves.
Mhm.
While by maybe I had difficult or not the best experience with the others, or where I sometimes felt like they are too relaxed in it. They feel like, oh, if I go to class once a week for 1 hour with Britta, I will speak German in no time. But it just doesn't work like this. You can't just open a head and put the knowledge in.
I definitely agree, but I have to admit that I was that kind of student before. When I took a Spanish, not Spanish, but it might be Korean class. Like once a week, like if I take a class once a week, it's a really good starting point. I definitely encourage it. But as you say, in order to really see the progress, you have to do more than just taking the class
Yeah.
once a week. Because that's what I did. I did that for like on and off for like 2 years, and I made like no progress. But I do have students who is doing that. But then she also, well, let me see. Yes, she also spends time outside the class, so it's more than just one-on-one class or
Yeah,
one-on-one
yeah,
tutoring. Or she also puts effort outside the class. But
yeah.
that's also another reason why I think online tutors are amazing, because you have different types of teachers as well.
Mm,
And I like all kinds of learners because they
yeah,
all have their own like interesting parts. That's why I
yeah,
like to meet them.
yeah,
So I just tend to teach more of the later group, and as you can see, you teach more of the self-studiers, right?
yeah,
Self-studiers, that's a
yeah,
word. Students who self-study, right? You tend
yeah.
to teach that group of people. Mhm.
Mm. What advice do you have for the first group who are learning by themselves, but also in some way for the second group, for in between the lessons? Um, for advice, what to learn, how to organize. Do you have any tips there?
I don't have a particular plan that works for everyone, but I do have a general guideline that can follow and then modify depending on their learning style. So the first thing you need to do is to set a goal. You need to know what you want to do in that study session. So, for example, I would say grab a map as in, are you going to be using a book as a guideline? Are you going to be using an app? The topics are very flexible, especially it's perfect for conversational learners who want to
Yeah,
practice speaking because they can say, okay, next week I'm going to talk about this, and then this is in like maybe my daily routine or things like that. Or maybe are you following a podcast? So you need to grab a map, and then this way you can then decide what to do for that week. Maybe if you had a class that week, you can say, I'm going to go back and review the keywords or maybe the key structures from that class. And then next week, when I see the teacher again or the tutor again, I'm going to apply that concept.
mm,
So I think this is something that you can work out on your own and then customize as you go. It doesn't have to be set in stone because
yeah,
it's something that's very flexible. So that's how I say set a goal and then grab a map and then decide what you need to do
yeah,
for that week or that day.
yeah. That's really good tips you just gave.
Thank you.
How do you learn Spanish? Do you learn exactly the same way?
Pretty much. Now, the reason I love this because, like I mentioned earlier, 2 years ago, I was a terrible learner. I tried to learn multiple languages at once, actually. I tried to learn Korean, Japanese, and Spanish at the same time. And I was a beginner. Well, I'm still a beginner in all three of them. And then I finally decided, okay, I'm going to focus on Spanish only. And then now I think after trying out different styles, I find out how I learn. So my current learning style is I have to do a Duolingo. I have to do a Duolingo. I call it Duolingo session as in I go on the app, either on my computer or on my phone, and I complete at least 5 sessions. 5 sessions as in every time you complete one session, you get 10 XP. Those are
Yeah,
points. So I make sure to complete 5 of them every day. And then I also changed my goal to like complete 10 minutes, but that's really a good point to start. So Duolingo every day, that's my daily task. Then I have a weekly class. It's either a class with a teacher or a meeting with my language partner who I met like 2 years ago. He's really awesome. He's still with me after 2 years, even though 2 years ago I was not making any progress. But anyways, so either a class with a teacher or a language exchange. I do that 1 or 2 times a week, actually. Yeah,
yeah,
1 or 2 times a week. And then I am trying to use Quizlet to review all my words because I
mhm,
noticed that, like I mentioned earlier, if you don't study outside class, there's the chance is just really low for you to maintain all that words unless you just have a really good memory, which I don't. So
yeah,
that's what I do so far: Duolingo, Quizlet, and weekly meeting.
yeah, yeah. So when I started to learn Spanish again, I'm on and off the language also.
I totally
But
understand.
I start 2 years ago. I started, and I had a very powerful approach, and I set myself goals as well. So it was like finish 50 points on Duolingo, similar what you said.
Oh, high five!
And also, but I also was on Memrise. So I did, in addition, I did the middle goal. They have different goals there as well. You can set yourself daily goals. And I think I took the middle one. I
Memorize
can't
has that too?
remember. And in addition, I also said to finish, I don't know, at least 15 minutes or something like this on a Rosetta Stone. I have a very old Rosetta Stone program. And when I drove to work, back then I still was employed. When I was driving to work, I listened to an audio course by Paul Noble. So I had altogether about 2 hours every day catching vocabulary. And then after, I think, 4 weeks, I went on a website to a tutor and booked my first trial lesson and was able to speak for 30 minutes. And it was just so a boost, and I loved it. So that's something I always tell students. Boost your vocabulary. Don't focus on the grammar at the beginning. Boost the vocabulary and then start speaking. And when you then hear the language, you will pick up the grammar bit by bit. And of course, after a while, you need to fine-tune it and maybe have to look into a grammar book. But kind of, it's not my focus. You can understand even if the grammar is not perfect, but it's hard to explain things if you don't know enough vocabulary. So
Yeah. I think for me, I'm still trying to figure out what I like to do, but I definitely agree that learning vocabulary is really important. And for me, I think I kind of like a mix. Like some words, because you definitely need words in order to use your grammar point, right? So I think for me, I like to learn like a set number of words and at least one structure to go with it. So it's kind of like a mix, like somewhere in between. Like you said, you just need to know how you learn and what's your learning preference.
yeah. Okay, great. So you are a teacher, but I know you also have some websites which are really great. I had a look. So tell us a little bit more about the website.
So right now I have two main blogs. Right now I'm focusing on Mandarin more often than the other one. So the first one is called ChineseMandarinCafe.com, and that's where I post all the materials related to learning Mandarin Chinese. Occasionally some other languages as well, like as in the Chinese field, as in like my dialect. And then The second one is called letslanguage.com, and that is my personal blog for learning languages, where I post my diary, like my progress, my learning progress, my tips, my tools, and things like that. The website address is letslanguage.com.
Yeah, and I will link them both down in the description box.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to add anything?
Yes. Just one last thing is I feel like when you're learning a language, one of the really important thing to do is to be patient. Be
Yeah.
patient when you are making mistakes. It's totally normal and it's okay. It takes time to correct. And be patient when your progress is slow, because when you're learning a language, it's like a wave. It's not like a straight line. You are going to experience you will feel like you're learning really quickly, and then other times you feel like you're not making any progress. So be patient and have fun learning.
Yeah, have fun. And also, as a learner, you do not always realize that you made progress because you are
Exactly.
in the process all the time. And then you
Mhm.
meet a teacher you haven't seen for a while, or a person, language partner you haven't spoken to for a while. And they say, wow, you got so much better. And I say, oh no, I haven't really done anything. And
Mhm.
that's
Yes.
also
Yeah.
something you always have to remember, that
Mhm.
you do not always realize that you're getting better because you are in the process with it.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely. So be
Okay,
patient. Mm.
so being patient is a good advice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. It was great talking to you.
You're very
And
welcome.
yeah, and maybe we can do something like this again. I have so many questions for you.
Definitely. I'll see you next time then. Bye.
Okay, see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Das war mein Gespräch mit Amy. Sie hat uns viele gute Tipps gegeben, finde ich. Ich hoffe, es hat euch gefallen. Und wenn es euch gefallen hat, dann vergesst nicht, einen Daumen hoch zu hinterlassen und natürlich den Kanal zu abonnieren, sofern ihr es noch nicht gemacht habt. Ich hoffe, wir sehen uns bald wieder. Bis dann. Tschüss.